So, you want to fill it a bit again, Oscar, about the performance and the acceleration? Of course.
Can you do it from 0?
Yeah, I think we can do that. Let's see.
That's faster than most normal cars. Hey guys, welcome back to another SCS On The Road episode. Today we are here back again at the Scania Demo Centre here in Sweden. It's really cold outside, but we have here a very, very interesting truck. But before that, I would like to introduce my special guest here, Fredrik. You can tell the audience more about yourself.
Yes, hello, my name is Fredrik Sunden and I work at R&D here at Scania. So I'm a software engineer for the Powertrain. So I've been working with this lovely Powertrain for quite some time to make sure that we have all the properties and the performance that we need for the customer.
Yeah, great to meet you. And,
thank you.
Yeah, so we're here in front of the 45R. I believe this is your baby, basically.
Yes.
How long have you been working on this?
So for this specific Powertrain here, I've been working roughly 3 years, I'd say.
3 years.
But as the Powertrain is based on components used in other products, so all in all for this Powertrain, perhaps 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah. So
it's a long development time.
Yeah, so it's
You must be really proud to finally see it in this finished form here, and it's ready for the market, ready for people to try it out.
Yeah, so we know internally that it is a good product. We are very proud about it, and also now that we're starting to show it externally as well, it's very, very fun actually. So we get a lot of good feedback from customers. They think it's an interesting product and already nice and polished. So.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm scheduled to have a ride later with Joa, so hopefully I get an experience myself on how good it drives and basically how it differs from a normal ICE truck.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk about a little bit of the differences that you can see visually on the outside. I'm noticing there's a blue strip here.
Yes, we have some things that differentiate electric truck from a conventional one. So you see the blue striping, we have a few, so for example in front or in the door handles.
Yeah.
We have a different classification of our cabs. So here we say 45R, which denotes that we have 450 kilowatts continuous power in our cab. And when we talk about combustion engines, you usually have the R in front and then the number of horsepower the vehicle has. So it's a little bit different. We have a new exclusive LED bar, so to get a little bit more pop for our electric vehicles.
Yep.
But otherwise, we are basically on the same modular platform as the conventional vehicles. So you can still recognize that it's a Scania.
Oh yeah.
Just extra little details to make it stand out.
I like it. The Scania design has always been really bold. It's, like you say, recognizable on the road.
Yeah.
And you have a special paint color for this?
Yes. So we have sort of all our new products get a sort of a color that is specific for this launch. So here we have this nice light blue color.
I like the design. It's very clean. It doesn't shout at you that it's electric, but for those who know, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a question because I'm interested is, are you going to replace the side mirrors with cameras?
It's in our road plan. At the moment we go with standard mirrors for this product.
Okay.
Yeah.
You try to, I guess you try to make it so that the drivers don't need to, adjust too much. It's not such a huge change, especially on the design, on looking at it, but maybe the driving experience, of course, that's another thing.
When you get into the cab, you can notice that the driver environment is very similar to the commercial vehicles. It's, if you have driven Scania before, you can just jump in and drive this.
Yeah.
You know exactly what to do when driving. So it's,
okay.
So the only difference you notice is how they handle basically when you drive, and also the quietness. You don't.
Yeah.
It's very more quiet and more comfortable. So that's what you notice when driving.
Do you have to put more sound insulation inside because when driving an electric car, you kind of hear more of the other noises that you don't usually do?
We're exploring different possibilities. For example, the windshield and everything have more insulation against the wind noise and road noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So make it an even more quiet experience.
Exactly.
Okay. What can you tell me about the powertrain? That's your expertise. How many motors? What's the gearbox like?
Yes, so what we have here is a 6-speed dual input shaft transmission, which is used in sort of when you talk about dual clutch in a passenger car, as you have dual input shafts. You always have one gear engaged while shifting, so that gives us power shifting capability here, so you don't lose torque while accelerating.
Yeah.
Which also helps the accelerations, the brake recuperation, and also the overall comfort in vehicle while driving. And then combined with this gearbox, we have 3 electric machines. So we have 2 integrated in the gearbox itself, and then we have an additional electric machine in front of the gearbox to give us those high power levels that we need for heavier applications.
Okay, that makes sense. So 3 motors, and basically all 3 drives one of them drives the input shaft, and 2 drives the output.
They are integrated in the transmission, so all sort of act on the input shaft. Yeah,
Okay.
so we get the gear ratios to get the correct amount of power at all vehicle speeds.
Right. So you're saying it's like a dual clutch, but does it have a torque converter or no?
Now we have a planetary gear system in combination with electric machines.
Right.
So we get sort of the same capabilities as a dual clutch with clutches.
Yep.
But we use electric machines in conjunction with a planetary gear sets to get the same functionality basically. So it's so that is used while perhaps taking off, and also while shifting gears. We can do that sort of like slipping between the 2 input shafts.
Yeah. I think a lot of the viewers would kind of think that usually when you look at electric cars, some of them might not even need multiple gears.
Yeah.
Could you kind of explain a little bit why you need 6 gears here?
So that is basically due to we need so much torque to perform a takeoff in a heavy vehicle, especially when you are inclines.
Yep.
So then we need a lot of torque amplification to get the amount of force on the ground to be able to take off. And if you want that kind of force while standing still, then you would end up with very high speeds on the machines when going quite fast.
Right.
So you need multiple gear ratios, so you can have a lower speed while driving fast, but you need a high gear ratio to get the torque application while taking off.
Okay, so
that's the difference between heavy application vehicles and passenger car vehicles. We don't need that high amount of torque to be able to perform a takeoff.
Okay, so even with an electric motor, even with the instant torque, you still need to multiply that using, I guess, the gear ratio, the final drive, that sort of thing.
Yeah, you have to tune it to get the right properties. Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit more about the batteries?
Yeah. So the batteries you can see at least, they are installed on the side of our frame.
Yes.
So we have in total 624 kilowatt hours of battery capacity.
Okay, that's a lot.
Yes, so it's quite a lot more than in a traditional passenger car vehicle. But it's also, it takes a lot more power to use these vehicles than a passenger car. So we have the battery packs are situated on the rear axle here, so we use the complete distance between the axles here basically just to get enough battery capacity.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And these batteries, they're made here in Sweden by you guys?
Yeah, exactly. So we source ourselves from Northvolt, and they manufacture these up in north of Sweden.
Okay.
So we like to say that we have the greenest cells in the world. We have very clean energy to produce the batteries with up in north of Sweden. And with the cells, we take them down here to Södertälje, and we have our own battery factory. So we pack them into what we call modules, and each module is then stacked into packs.
Yeah, what's the estimated range in this if you're driving with a trailer 44 tons?
Yeah, so we are communicating the figures 350 kilometers if you are running 40 tons, and 250 kilometers if you run 64 tons. So the 64-ton figure is more specific for our Nordic countries, since we allow more higher gross rear weights here.
Okay. Can you reveal how heavy these batteries are?
So this pack here is roughly 3.5 tons of batteries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not too bad, because even if you have fuel tanks, they weigh quite a lot. The engine, the
also
transmission.
Exactly, when you compare it to conventional vehicles, we are roughly 2 tons more heavier.
Okay.
So we had a lot of batteries. We also remove quite a lot of heavy components. For example, the engine is quite heavy, so that is removed. So the powertrain itself is much lighter.
Okay.
So that also reduces weights, but we add weight with batteries.
That's good. And I know regen braking is a big thing for electric vehicles. What kind of rate can you regen at? What's the maximum?
So we can regen at a peak of roughly 600 kilowatts.
Oh, that's more than the output then.
Yeah. And so we have designed that way. We see that brake recovery is very important for engine economy. So when driving forward, we have restrictions to make a good continuous performance, basically.
Yes.
But when braking, we want to use every drop we can to increase the efficiency of the vehicle.
So it is very possible for, let's say, if you start at the top of a hill at 0 and then you reach the bottom, it could be easily charged up.
Yeah. So, for example, we have this powertrain in real-world application at the moment. For example, in Norway, we have a customer that drives the powertrain. That we see that it also runs in a mine, basically. So it loads up on top and deloads at the bottom. So you can see that they actually save quite a lot of energy just by utilizing the gravity and mass, basically. So you reload on the way down, and you can use that, what they have reloaded to drive up. So it's sort of like a infinity machine, if you want to call it. You don't need to charge as much, since
That's true.
you can use the brake recovery.
Yeah, that's a really good application.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all the information. This was really good to speak to you.
And I hope you enjoyed the ride.
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you. So we've had a walk around of the truck, and I guess here we are talking about how you can charge it up and what's the charging like.
Yeah, and first of all, this thing with a BEV truck, I think everybody believes that Scania can build a really, really good BEV truck. But when it comes to charging, many people wonder, how are we going to get that solution for our roads and so on?
Yeah.
But that is on the way. EU have now come out to the countries and tell them that we need to put up every 60 kilometers big charging poles that we actually can charge vehicles like this, like a truck.
Yeah.
7.2 megawatts in every spot like this. So
7.2 megawatts.
Yeah, every 60 kilometers. So it's quite cool on big highways.
Yeah,
and of course, every country is also going to look into how would they build up the charger infrastructure. But we at Scania also wanted to help out with this.
Yes.
So we're doing a big investment in Sweden and the whole Europe now to build up a charging net. So it's going to be possible to easy come and easy go with a charging place with a truck like this. Okay. And this really going on already. So today when you're building and when you're buying a truck from Scania, then you actually can also buy charging infrastructure from us. So we help you out with the analyze about what truck do you need. We help you out with the analyze about what charge you need and the schedule, and also a long roadmap, of how you're going to build up your fleet, like with BEV vehicles. So that's quite cool. Yeah. So please, Oscar, would you like to test charge this new BEV?
Okay.
Yeah,
sure.
So you push that button there.
That's a push.
Yeah, the hatches. Yeah, excellent, good work. And now you take one of these levers. Yeah.
So this is CCS.
Exactly, and you put it in. Excellent, Oscar. You're like a real truck driver, right? So good work, man.
Much easier than filling up with diesel.
And one thing that we are really proud at Scania is that you can go up to 375 kilowatts here. So it's really, really fast. Really, really fast.
Yeah.
So like 45 minutes break, you get 60% back into the battery. Right. That's really cool. Yeah. So you can be fast on the highway again.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because when we're talking about electric trucks, like you said, it's really cool to have one. It's fast, it's It's quiet, but the charging is always going to be a problem, especially for now. It's a little bit of a challenge, but if you say the EU is committed to building a charger every 60 kilometers, then it's going to relieve a lot of the problems that people perceive right now. And do you know when this 60-kilometer thing is supposed to be done?
It's in a few years, yes. So it's on the table now, and everybody look into it. So it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, Scania, and with the help with the fleet and all of energy companies and so on, also build up the infrastructure now. So it's already happening without anybody tell you.
Yeah.
So that is quite cool also. This is something we do together. So let's hit the road. This is our electric truck 45R, and it's really a pleasure to drive, and I'm glad that you're with us today. The first thing you think about is that you really get all the power you need. So you're really, really strong at low speed. So you get immediately. Here's no turbo, it's gonna work and something like that. You have all the power and so smooth. So just now you're just moving forward very, very slow.
Yeah, it's very different. I mean, the experience.
Yeah.
On the other trucks, at lower speeds, it's a little bit different. This is so smooth. You can control it with so much accuracy. It's very useful for parking, I'm sure. Like if you're backing up, or if you're just navigating tight corners, you can really control it with millimeter precision.
And especially if you're driving very heavy load, and it's quite a narrow place, you want to have the combination about being very strong in low speed.
Let's feel the acceleration.
Okay, and also we have a fantastic combination of 3 electric machine and a transmission that is awesome. So let's feel it.
That is fast and smooth at the same time.
70 kilometers immediately indirect.
But you were saying that there is a gearbox. There are gears.
Yeah, we have 3 electric machines that working together.
Yeah,
so,
I don't feel.
So it's really strong from the beginning.
Yeah.
But here you also can get the transmission that feels like a automatic. You're getting the force all the time, so no interruption.
Right.
So this is the electric V8 in the truck business.
Okay.
I must say that because you have so many things that when I think about the V8 on the ICE truck, that is powerful, fast, and can do a rough job and so on.
Yeah.
And this is really an electric powertrain that I'm feeling the same feeling on this one. So this is the V8 electric BEV.
That is a brave thing to say.
Yeah.
I can't tell that it has gears. It's smooth and
we
continuous.
have up to 6 gears.
6 gears, yeah.
Yeah, and once we're leaving one gear, and we already have the new gear for acceleration or for torque or for power.
Yeah.
So as a driver, you're just feeling that it's very smooth, just going away.
Yeah, something like a dual clutch, but.
But now this is a different mode. And now you can see also when we're going downhill.
Yep.
Here you have the
I can feel it.
Compared to an ICE vehicle, this is totally different. Here we can get back some of the energy.
Yep.
And imagine if I've loaded and the total weight of the vehicle is 64 tons.
Yeah.
Imagine how many energy you get back down the hill here.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic. And thanks to we have such a strong power from the electric machine, this is also making it possible to take a lot of energy when we're going downhill and give it back to the batteries, so we can drive some more kilometers. So that is cool.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You have to kind of think about how you can maximize the range. You change your driving strategy a little bit.
And I think as a driver, you also get more interesting to eco driving, because you starting thinking another way how to handle the electric vehicle. Which way is the best way for me to drive in? If I have 3 different options, we have a very hilly one, I have an urban traffic and so on, then what is the best for me to driving a loaded electric truck down the hill, or an empty electric truck up the hill? And in my city, what can I do for kind of choice and options to go to the same goal, to the same spot. So that is also challenged me in Eco Driver on a new level. Of course, it's about braking and throttle in a smart way, but also find out the best way to driving this vehicle. And I like it. It's a new challenge, a new way to drive. And in the same time, it's very easy also.
Yeah, it's very easy.
Yeah.
And it's really stress-free, I would say, because you sit here, you don't hear an engine that's going in the background. Yes, the V8 sounds amazing, of course, right?
Yeah.
But over a long journey, maybe sometimes you would appreciate the quietness of this truck.
So, you want to feel a little bit again, Oscar, about the performance and the acceleration? Of course.
Can you do it from zero?
Yeah, I think we can do that. Let's see.
That's faster than most normal cars will do in traffic. There are absolutely no problems keeping up.
No, and now we're just out and having fun, you and me.
Yeah.
But when it comes to other situations, then it's more than just that it's fun thing to have.
Yeah.
If it's slippery or here in Sweden it can be icy or snow, the thing that you have the power and is gearing in the same time, it makes it much more easier to drive up a hill or what could be, or and also starting in a hill, something like that. So you have a really nice features for actually different kind of situations with your truck. When you have this kind of electric machine and this transmission, it makes it also possible for me to have less power on the throttle. I can just slightly push it.
Yep.
And in the same time, I have the same acceleration that you have with the ICE vehicle or with a passenger car without pushing so hard with the throttle, because it's flowing in another way. So I think also, of course, first time you're driving it, you want to hit the throttle and drive quite fast acceleration. That is one thing. But when you're actually starting to drive it in your business, then you're interested more to have more kilometers, drive it smart, and then you get the feeling that I can, as a driver, really make this happen if I concentrate me to driving smart. So in the urban traffic, so of course we can drive very fast, but we can drive with less power, or with just a little bit slightly on the throttle. We can still get a very nice acceleration together with the rest of the traffic.
Yeah, and I think the linear power delivery makes a difference, right? Because I remember driving the 770. It was very powerful, but you could tell that the power comes in at, let's say, 1,100 RPM, and then you get all the power. So sometimes it's better to be smooth. That truck is amazing as well, of course. Like I said, different driving experience, but this is linear. This is predictable. You know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, and it's different missions. So 7017 is doing another work than this one is doing. They have two different work that they are running. But of course, both of them are strong and smooth in their way. They are the kings in their own segments, you know.
Yeah. Thanks for driving us around the demo center track. It was really a very cool and fun experience, especially with the acceleration. It's something different to experience it on such a big vehicle like this, and to experience such a smooth powertrain. Thanks, Joar.
Thank you, Oscar, for coming here to Demo Centre in Södertälje. And I also hope that everybody that are trying to accelerate with this truck in the game also can get the same feeling that is really fast. So enjoy.